Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase video here on the channel. As always, these are spotlights of indie games that we play for our once-a-week Indie Dev Showcases. They are held every Wednesday night, and if you'd like to submit a game for a future one, please don't hesitate to get in touch. But we're wrapping up the Steam Spring Festival of Games showcase with one final game. This is Mighty Fight Federation. And the game itself is an up to 4-player 3D arena brawler, with one of the big selling points is having kind of a focus on more advanced tech that we normally see from traditional fighting games, including being able to cancel out attacks and specials, having modifiers, each character having an ultimate, combos, transitions, stuff that I am completely terrible at. Now, the footage that you're seeing is taken from the demo, and you can play this with friends, but I was doing this late at night and locally, so we didn't have that opportunity. But the game features, as with most of these fighters, a lot of very weird characters. This is like a I guess werewolf, who gets power by drinking energy drinks. And the game definitely is hinting, or is definitely showing that they're trying to do more than what we normally see from this genre. And I would say this could definitely be a game to keep an eye out. I think the one issue could be that it does seem to be kind of generic. Despite these very weird looking characters, nothing really, I think, is sticking out in terms of the general gameplay. Or at least in terms of the aesthetics, I should say. And I do think that if you are looking for another multiplayer style game, especially this kind of 3D arena that we don't really see too often from the independent space, they typically tend to focus on 2D style, this game could have some potential there. Now, whether or not that will translate into a game that everyone can get into, that remains to be seen. But this was definitely an interesting game to kind of be the last one I looked at from the Steam Festival. And with that, we switch over to Baron Fur is Gonna Fly. This is a multiplayer, kind of arcade aircraft game that had one of the most poignant messages about this channel showing up on screen in a second, that it had to be immortalized. And there's no music here because we were chatting as we were playing this game, but the music of this game is very delightful as well. Now we just basically lost control of the next 20 seconds of laughter there. But while you can watch me laughing and trying to keep myself under control, the game itself is set in alternate, I think this is World War I or World War II. I think it's World War I, where everybody is an animal. So we have pilots of ducks, snakes, dogs, mice, you name it. And the game is played, you can play, I believe, either team or just free-for-alls, as you see right here. At the start of each match, you choose a ship that determines your basic attributes like how fast you go, can you turn quickly, build up speed, damage, and so on. And as the rounds progress, you'll be able to choose various special weapons. Whoever does the most damage to a fighter is considered the one who gets that kill. And as you can see, I did not follow that message as I keep going for Sharky there. But the game itself has a lot in terms of its aesthetics and art. Like I said, the music is really good and probably would get this video copyright claim if you were hearing it for real right now. The characters all look very detailed, and you can tell that there is some charm put into it. The big problem with Baron is the value. There's not a lot to this game. There's a basic kind of co-op campaign, or just like co-op missions where you have to fight sheep, but the bulk of this game is just designed around these multiplayer conflicts, but there's not really anything else that goes with it. The maps may change in terms of size, but they're not really changing in terms of what you're doing. It's still just an empty space. Your powers will affect what's going on, but there's just nothing here that is going to, I think, drive long-term engagement of somebody wanting to play this day in and day out, either with friends or randoms. And it's a shame because the basic gameplay works. Like, we didn't really have an issue with how the plane's controlled or your various special powers, But this game feels like one of those examples where so much was done for the aesthetics and the theme that the gameplay has kind of been left in second or third place. And I just don't see this game being that big of a sale, especially so many multiplayer focused titles are out on the market now. I don't know if the developers have added in anything since this play, or there are plans for future content, but ultimately this feels more like a demo to something than a finished title. And I hate to say that, but we just didn't find the legs, I guess no pun intended, with all these animals on screen, to make us want to keep playing. But with that, we switch over to a game that shows a lot of potential, and one that I don't think I'm ever going to get good enough to play. This is Nocturne Prelude. I don't know if the Prelude is in the title itself or just for this demo, but this is a JRPG meets a DDR, or I guess Guitar Hero, depending upon your background. Yep, and that is certainly a game. So our story finds our character waking up in a digital world that's supposed to be for the afterlife, and has discovered that things have, well, gone to hell. And it's up to her to figure out what's going on by jamming to those beats. So every enemy in the game has its own song, and there's different difficulty settings that will throw more beats and stuff at you. This, what you're seeing right now, is on normal, and I was horribly failing. But I'll show, I think, some footage of it on the higher difficulty in a second. The idea is that as you play the beats, you'll either gain health or gain various abilities or sheep passives to keep your health bar alive. That's the bar you see in the middle. Get through the entire song without the bar draining, and the enemy will be killed automatically. Oh, that was on hard difficulty. I guess I was a little bit better there. But yeah, when you go to the highest possible difficulty, that's when the game turns into the handbreaker. And as you can see, you're free to alter the controls. And I just always have trouble with these kinds of games, especially when you have to use both your left and right hand for when you're trying to hit combinations. And as you play through, the developers do a good job of introducing more things to keep track of and what to watch out for while you're choosing your various tools and what you're doing during these stages. You get gear that can activate if you get a certain number of perfects, such as giving you a damage shield, recovering your health, etc. And as you play through these songs and you start running into new enemies, you'll get conditionals such as do not hit this specific beat or it shuts off that lane for a second, which completely and utterly broke my brain. And with Nocturne Prelude here, I think this is a really great example of a game, and also one that I am so not the right market for. I don't have rhythm, people. And I'm sure you guys want me to do a full run of this game on the highest possible difficulty. But I do like the developer taking something that we've seen before and putting a very unique spin on it, both from a gameplay point of view, as well as the overall aesthetics and design. And the demo hints at a larger story and more elements that go into this kind of system as well. And for those of you watching this footage right now, you pretty much know, I think at this point, whether or not you are all in for this game, or if you're going to back away slowly if you see it on your Steam page. And the only, I think, issue that I had with it is that combat kind of feels like a waste at the moment. That when you fight these enemies, you're not really getting anything out of it. It's just merely a stopgap for you to then move on to the next area or to make some progress. If you could earn experience, or if maybe the battles were preset or fixed encounters, I think that would make things a little bit easier, because the game does follow the random encounter rule of JRPG design. But, like I said, I like a lot about this game despite me being completely terrible at it. So if you are a fan of rhythm style games, or would like to give your fingers a workout the same way as DDR did for your feet, keep an eye out for this one. For me, I think I'm just going to rest my hands and listen to music rather than play it. But we're going to do our quick Patreon supporter and sponsor shout out now, and when we come back, we got a few more games to look at for this video. And now for a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. Going forward, all Patreon supporters will get early access to our videos. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. If you're looking for more wisdom about game design, be sure to check out my latest offering of books, 20 Essential Games to Study, aimed for first-time developers and students looking for some inspiration for their upcoming games, and Game Design Deep Dive Platformers if you're interested in anything regarding 2D and 3D platforming design. They're both available in print, digital, and wherever books are being sold. We now turn to the game Dwarf Shop, which is entering the kind of idle/shop sim market that we've seen games such as Swag and Sorcery, Weapon Shop Simulator. I know there's probably a few dozen other games like it out there. And unfortunately, there really isn't a lot to say about this one. All the usual beats are here. Have your little characters go on an adventure that you see on the bottom of the screen, get resources to bring back, and then use said resources to either craft new gear for them, or to sell in your shop to earn gold, and we repeat and repeat until you've either beaten the game or you've gotten tired of it. And unfortunately, I really didn't see anything new or standing out with Dwarf Shop. Again, for my money, the king of this kind of design would be Weapon Shop Simulator. While it may lack in aesthetics and graphics, the depth has not been matched, I feel, by any of these other games. So, for this one, basically, if you're in the mood for another light-hearted shop sim kind of game, then it's okay. But if you're hoping for somebody to do something new and different with the genre, then at least the version that we played, Dwarf Shop is not going to be that game. And with that, let's move on to Urban Cards. The footage that you're seeing for this game, this is taken during its early access. And this is the game is described as a deck builder / city builder / roguelike. And this one has some very interesting elements to it. First, it's got like a 90s neon aesthetic or art style to it. But you play as the owner of a company and you are trying to run other people out of business. And to do that, you're going to take them on in these kinds of battles. So, the basic rules work like this. You can place down a variety of cards per turn, provided you have the money. Every time you place a building down, the building will earn you money, but will also add to your debt. If you hit max debt in a campaign, you will lose. Likewise, if you get beaten too many times, you will also lose the campaign as well. But your deck does not come back during a match. It will refresh when you go into a new battle, but this is definitely a game where a fat deck is needed. As you place down cards, you can see they can be put into one of three spots. You have your employees that kind of take up the lane closest to you. You have your on-the-street workers or bouncers, and then you have the buildings themselves. So your employees will earn you money every turn, and they can also be used to synergize with buildings or other employees. Only one building can fill a spot at a time, and if you're trying to get into a spot that's already been taken over, you must play cards or units that can attack that building. And units can only attack in their respective column. So the idea, of course, is that money that you need to buy and put stuff on the field is also your win condition for the map. And then once you win a map, you'll be able to choose your next destination on like kind of the campaign node. And this continues until you've either completed the campaign or you lose. And as you play more, you'll unlock more cards that can show up in subsequent runs, and the game hints at having multiple factions, which I believe there are only 2 or 3 in the version that we played here. So there's definitely a lot to like about with urban cards. It's got a great look to it, it does something different from the formula we're used to. But at the moment, it does feel like the balance is a little bit off in terms of difficulty. This is a game that is very much built on tempo play, meaning if you do really good early on, that's going to carry you through to the rest of the map. And it's very hard in this game to come back, because again, every building you put out earns you money. The more money you have, both the closer you are to your win condition, as well as the more that you can play. Not only that, but because your decks do not replenish, whoever starts losing more of their cards first, either due to special abilities or strong units taking them out, is going to have a harder time. And I ran into a case where I beat all the enemy's attacks, but my problem was I ran out of cards. I couldn't field anything more for my turns. So the enemy just kind of ran out the clock, and I couldn't win or do anything, even though I had a comeback otherwise. And in a game like this, where losing can cost you the campaign or just ruin your whole night, it can be very frustrating to have things kind of basically fall through your fingertips like that. But like we said, this is a game that is early access. I'm sure the developers are working on patching and fine-tuning since we played this on stream. And if you're like me and you're always in the mood for another deck-building style roguelike, then this one shows some potential. So definitely keep an eye on it, and I guess if you won, throw all the money that you have at it as well. But with that, we have time for I think one more game tonight. And that is going to be one that could show a lot of potential, but it definitely is an odd one. This is Eternal Edge Plus. And if you're thinking by this footage that, hey, this looks like Breath of the Wild, then you are probably right. As the simplest way to describe this one is basically Legend of Zelda, I guess, Diet Edition. We have a huge open world to explore, quests and missions to achieve, and of course RPG progression, as we wander around the land getting into all kinds of mishaps and fighting monsters and of course dying. Now where Eternal Edge, no pun intended, has an edge over Legend of Zelda and other games like this, is that there is an RPG progression and leveling at its core. You'll be able to unlock different upgrades, you'll be able to craft new weapons, you can level up your character, and there are kind of special things you can find, upgrade material, upgrade cores, that you can apply to your character to raise your attack, stamina, healing, you get the picture. And again, the whole point of the open world is that you are going to be exploring for kind of these points of interest, and sometimes your point of interest is a giant dragon who will two-shot you, as you're about to see right here. And the whole concept of the story is that we're trying to save, I guess, our wife, and who's an immortal, from a guy who's trying to, I guess, rid the world of immortality, or something along those lines. And as you play further, you'll unlock more of the world, find more resources, and again, just get that progression curve, or that progression loop that we see from RPGs and open world style games. And I guess I'm rolling up a storm here. Now, all that is certainly good, but Eternal Edge, at least in the version that we played, has one very glaring fault to it, and that is how combat works. You cannot stun an enemy with your attack, and as you can see, enemies will gang up on you like no tomorrow. So the problem comes in is that there's no real effective way of fighting multiple enemies. You can dodge around as you saw me do there, but the dodge doesn't work when 3 or 4 or more enemies are all trying to hit you at once. This is not the same as Legend of Zelda, where you can stun lock enemies. You have tools and ways of thinning out a crowd. This game, unfortunately, doesn't have it, and everything that I saw while I was playing this, it feels like a rougher version of other games. Now again, this was in early access, so there is certainly time to improve and refine. But if they do not fix these combat issues and just the general moment-to-moment gameplay, then I don't see this game hooking people unless you do not have access to Breath of the Wild and you really want to play an open-style 3D action-adventure game. But, like I said, this is one of those anomalies that it could turn out either way. Either being a really impressive take on the genre for PC fans, or just being a lesser example that is not going to interest people. I'm curious for those of you who did play Eternal Edge, what you thought of it, and was there more to it than what we saw during our play? Let me know in the comments below, but that's going to do it for this indie showcase. I'd like to thank the games that were submitted, and if you'd like me to tackle your game in the future, please want to say to get in touch. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, have a great night. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.